Yes, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Mathur Hanif, Assistant Editor at Dental News Pakistan, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to this live session, Dental Career Planning. And I'm so thrilled to welcome our speaker, Dr. Abbas Naqvi. He's Director at CIDE, Canadian Integration by Dental Education. And please, Dr. Abbas, join us in the video. And hello.
Hi. How are you, Mathur?
Alhamdulillah, all fine.
Good to be here again with you. And as we were saying that we've done quite a few career counseling and career advice sessions in the past, and every other session tends to be slightly different from the previous one. And this time around, also we're trying to touch upon some different aspects of planning your career locally as well as internationally. And there's some different aspects. As we said earlier, two different types of audiences that we're talking to today. One aspect of diversity is geographical, and they may be based in any of the regions in South Asia, Middle East, or North America. And the other dimension of diversity is their stage in their careers. So we're trying to summarize quite a few dimensions of dental careers into one session, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can do that, and if how much justice we can do to that. There are specific details we will talk about, probably more in relation to Canada, but then there are some fundamentals that apply across the board. So with your permission, Dr. Mathur, can I share my screen and my slides?
Sure.
The title slide?
Yes, it's going perfectly fine now.
Okay, perfect. So what we're talking about is career planning, and with regards to this, we have an added dimension of financial support, which I hope my friend from PCET can join us. She hasn't joined us yet, but still there's aspects that I will be talking about with regards to dental career planning and obviously financial support as well. All right, a little bit of an overview of the session, brief introduction of myself. I'm going to talk a little bit about the art, science, and business of dentistry, and how this concept relates to what we're going to be talking about today. And then, as I said, a bit more detail about Canadian dentistry, and CIDE programs. But our initial discussion, the most important part will be about this point number 2, which we are going to talk about a little bit more. This is a new dimension that we've added in the discussion as compared to our sessions in the past. My name is Dr. Abbas Naqvi. I'm the director at CIDE. I'm also the director at C-Factor, which is a dental media and marketing company, as well as being an overseas editor for Dental News. I've spent 18 years in dental media and marketing, continuing education and communication, and I have the honor, the pleasure of having formal education and experience in all 3 areas, including dentistry, media, and marketing, where I've had my university degree from the University of Karachi in 2002, and then I have my graduate certificate in journalism and diploma in marketing from McMaster University. CIDE was established in 2017. As the name suggests, it's Canadian Integration by Dental Education. We take a very integration-based approach towards education and training, and this involves counseling, educating, training for clinical skills, and mentoring people even after they've acquired their licenses. We have a wonderful team of professionals that helps us do this day in and day out, and we have a 2,500 square feet facility in Mississauga, which has 3 training areas and anything and everything that a dental professional needs to do for pursuing their Canadian licensure, training, and education. Just going to show a few visual glimpses of what our facility looks like. And let's refresh the premise. sometimes when we are new to a dimension, for example, if we are new to dentistry, or once we have completed our education in dentistry, we are new to the professional world, or we have migrated to a new country, or we are looking to migrate to a new country, we are new to that dimension of life. Sometimes when you're too new for something, you don't know what you don't know. You don't even know what you don't know. So there are things that that we need to know just to get started in the right direction and ask the right questions. You might have heard a lot of times we're not even asking the right questions because we're not even at a point where we can start meaningful questions. At other times, what we are doing is we are comparing. Now, this is more true in terms of when it comes to international education or foreign life. We are comparing we have our own set of standards that we have learned throughout our years of education and experience in living our own home base, and then we start measuring the other countries, the other environments, the other systems by our parameters, which is not appropriate. Now, their systems don't fit our questions. So first, we need to take a moment and understand what their systems are like, and then ask the relevant questions instead of asking the questions that have more to do with our system as opposed to their system. And the other premise that life is understood looking backwards, but lived forwards. So this is what happens when it comes to experience sharing. We're going to be talking about how you can learn to live forward by our experiences looking backwards. I always add this slide to my talks because perspective versus fact versus context is very important, and I think our job is that of that line under the number, which indicates what that number really means, so that there is no argument in terms of opinions. Now, we've always talked about dentistry being an art and a science. Well, I think it's about time. It's been unfortunate that we've limited the profession to just the art and science, because we have to make a proactive effort to make people realize that this is not just an art and science of dentistry, it's art, science, and business of dentistry. And the earlier our dental student or dental professional comes to grips with this concept, the better it is for them and their future, because they would be able to plan and execute their career in a better way, in a more timely way, if you will. And while art has to do with skill, science has to do with knowledge, business has to do with approach, and all three dimensions have to go hand in hand with each other for maximum satisfaction, for maximum success, and to make your career give you what you want from it. So now that you've had dental education, you take a moment to review your aptitude, your options. And what do we mean by that? Number one aspect, understand that you're not locked or married to your initial education. If you happen to have had dental education, but you're not completely satisfied with it, or you are satisfied with it, evaluate that situation, because education is to help you become the version of yourself that you want, not to determine or dictate it. So you need to be, the nidus of control should be inside yourself. You need to be who you want to be, and your education needs to help you get there. And if it's not helping you get there, if it's a hurdle, then you have to take a step back and think if it's the right thing to do. You're still early on in your life. You're not married or locked to your education. If this is something you're not comfortable with, you have this opportunity to change directions. For example, if you feel like a business person trapped inside a dentist's body, well, guess what? You're in the right place. Because as we said earlier, dentistry is not just skill, it's not just art and science, not just skill and knowledge, it is also business. And that approach is very important. Now, if you're feeling like a chef trapped in a dentist's body. That is probably a problem. and you might want to review your options on that front. But always check your aptitude. Always knock inside your heart, inside your mind. See what's there. What's your natural aptitude? What type of a person you are? Who do you want to be? I, for example, from day one knew that I'm not the type of person who can spend 5 days, 6 days a week working in a clinical environment, closed room, just looking, peeking into mouths and doing that work all day. I wasn't that type. So I diversified very early on, and I chose, and you don't have to really jump ships. You can choose to do things in parallel. So that is also something that you should keep in mind. Now, obviously, this discussion applies as much to a newer dental professional as to a mid-career professional looking for something different. Always, when I say you could be doing things in parallel, what this means is that acquire new skills and knowledge all the way, especially business. I think one of the most important things that you can contribute to your profile, to your career, to your life is acquiring business knowledge, because you need to get oriented with a lot of things on this front that will either be very new to you, or you will, if you end up learning those skills, it might be too late. You would have made a lot of errors later on if you choose to do that later on. So one of the things we need to do is to get familiar with basic business knowledge. So business 101. Trust me, once I stepped into this field, I learned so much that I was kicking myself for not learning earlier or before. So my first advice to everyone is know your aptitude, get business education, and learn to shape your thinking and behavior, and see what additional diverse skills, knowledge can you acquire that can help you improve within dentistry or diversify to something that you're thinking. Now, reviewing our options, what can a dentist really do? They have clinical options, and we have academic options, non-clinical options. You could associate in a practice. You could initially associate and then own a practice. And when we say own a practice, it means both. You could buy a running practice, or you can build from scratch. Okay, or a combination of the above. You could be working in one place as an associate and the other place as an owner. There's academic options. If you like research, if you like publishing, you can get into research. If you want to specialize, you can go into specialist training. And there's some overlaps in these. They're not really boxes that are completely separate. There might be some overlap. And then there are non-clinical options that are completely different, like business and management. And keep in mind, every profession has two fronts: the operational front and management front. So we need people who in the management who also understand the technical side of things. So there's always that opportunity. And what happened in the early 2000s was that I'm right now speaking from Pakistan's perspective. People did start diversifying, and globally it has been happening all the time for decades and decades. People have diversified. Yes, they are much less in number. That's why they don't get seen very often. But now it is happening more than ever before. So really, previously people were frowned upon when someone said to someone that I'm a dentist, but yes, hey, I do something else as well. Why do you do something else if you're a dentist? But people are realizing that your education or your training must not limit the scope of what your personality has to offer. It should complement and help you get further. So, so keep your options open, and that's the only way to progress. Now, when it comes to comparing your local situation with foreign lands, the popular destinations are usually Middle East, New Zealand or Australia, North America, Europe. Now, the difference between Middle East and the other three regions is that Middle East usually mostly is an employment-oriented life. People don't necessarily migrate for good. They don't get citizenships, so therefore either they go from their home country, spend their whole life in the Middle East, and eventually go back to the home country, or use the leverage of being in Middle East and migrate to a third place, which would be either of these other three. Most commonly, it's these three areas where life is more study and immigration oriented. I hardly ever heard someone go to the Middle East just for education. So mostly people use the education step as a step towards immigration in many cases, and in many cases they migrate but still have to go through education. So these two are usually tied together in terms of the foreign lands. And when it comes to the popular paths, uh, if you see, the Middle East is mostly tied to university or clinical employment based, whereas in and licensing exams also, which do lead to clinical employment. Um, but but in the other three regions, generally you have licensing exams, so you can own and practice dentistry. You can go for postgraduate education, which will eventually lead you, which could not in all cases, could lead you to clinical practice, postgraduate study that could lead you to a career in academics, non-clinical careers, including industry. That's an option, or alternate careers, which sometimes people use as a temporary measure. Sometimes they choose to move into an alternate career for good. So those are also situations that do take place. These could include certified dental assisting, dental hygiene, dental technicians, being a denturist. A lot of international prosthodontists, they sometimes for out of a need of their situation, they end up working as training as and then working as denturists. Office administration, office management is definitely a growing front as far as Canada is concerned. Now, these changes to your career may not necessarily be a step up or a step down. It could just be a step aside situation. So a lot of things you have to rewire your brain when you're making a decision. Everyone has their own circumstances. Don't use someone else's circumstances as uh, as a reason for your decision. Look at your situation, but yes, do use other people as motivational tools. If you can look at someone's achievements and that can make you work harder towards your goal, that is good. But don't change your goals based on someone else's situation, because your circumstances, their circumstances might not necessarily be the same. Okay, so now I'll just slightly go through these aspects of the Canadian system slightly quickly, because we've talked about this in the past and most people do understand the dynamics, but there are some areas that have not previously been expanded more, so I would be expanding those more. But things that we've talked a lot about in the past, I won't spend a lot of time on that. And did Roveda join in, Dr. Walker?
Yes, she has. Do you want
She
me to?
has? Okay.
Yes, she has.
Perfect. So what we'll do is when I'm done with this with my part in the presentation, Dr. Roveda will walk our participants through the financial support that FCR loans offer for Canadian PR holders. And slightly during my presentation, just to make the context easier for the participants and to pave the way for Dr. Veda's short talk. And she'll probably take 3 to 5 minutes. Then we will see if we have any questions from the participants. Sounds good?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. So, just a quick summary of what Canada looks like in terms of size, and that size could be the physical size, the population, or economic aspect. And that's what any new country, if you're thinking about any new country, whether you're looking at New Zealand, Australia, United States, or Canada, or somewhere in Europe, please look at these options, how you can get this basic information about the of your interest. As far as Canada is concerned, second largest, physically largest country in the world. In terms of population, it's really small. I think it's somewhere in the 30s. The population is comparable to a couple of big cities in Middle East or South Asia. So it's really functionally a small space. And that is why when we say that Canada is very highly competitive, this is what we mean. It's only 36 million people. It's like you're moving to one big city in South Asia. So that's why it's highly competitive. Economy is good. It's the number 9 in the world economy, and that really has its impact in current times that we are facing. That economic strength is of importance. Canadian dentistry is a family of 100,000 people approximately, 25% being dentists, about 25% being hygienists. So you can see how the human resources are distributed. A little more than 25% being assistants, and then we have miscellaneous roles as well. And when it comes to roles, here is something that is an eye-opener for people who are always thinking, what else can I do? Now, most people think either I'll be doing dentistry or doing something outside of dentistry. Well, there's a middle way that is an option for you to remain in dentistry but not practicing clinical dentistry. Now, this could be being a hygienist, being an assistant, being a treatment coordinator, getting into office admin, office management, as I said earlier, growing dentists, dental technicians, dental sales and marketing, public health, and becoming a consultant, coach, or a mentor. So you see there's a lot of opportunities. You should just be open to what appeals to you the most and what do you have an aptitude for. The profession in Canada is about a 15 billion industry. When we say 14 billion dollar industry, when we say that, we mean that this is the amount of money that is spent on oral care in Canada. It's largely privately funded, about 90%, and in that, it is largely insurance-based. There's about 40,000 practices per patient. Average per patient value is about touching $400. Strictly regulated, and 15% of the population has compromised access to care, which means 85% have good access. So that's good. That's a good stat. Average salary of a dentist is good, but it depends on many variables. These could be type of clinic you're working in, the type of patients that you're dealing with, the number of days that you're working, and the number of hours per day that you work. So it could be anything between the range of $100,000 to $130,000 to start with, and which is pretty decent, which is good. And but you have to keep in mind that there are variables to this. Now, this is probably the slide where I would want to spend a bit more time elaborating the process from a Canadian perspective, but it could apply to other regions of the world as well. It's just a mind map that we have. Now, the first choice is between whether you are going to pursue a career in clinical practice or an allied career. If you are going to pursue a career in clinical practice, you have two choices. Either you can, if you can afford, if you can manage to go directly into that direction without taking any leverage of an allied career, nothing better than that. But what many people find is that leveraging, taking some kind of leverage from an alternate career helps them. What could that leverage be? If you look at my screen, you see this temporary allied career sticking out in the middle of the process towards getting towards clinical practice. So this can be taken, this temporary allied career path, the leverage, the temporary allied career, leverage can be taken in mostly in a couple of ways. One of those ways is that you enter into some sort of education for that allied career. There's very few allied careers that you can get into without further education. So what people tend to do is take leverage of that time. They buy time. They can get into an assisting course, for example, and use that time because in Canada you get student support. If you're a permanent resident, you can get loans and use that time to study both for your allied career and your clinical career preparation, that is your exams. You can use that time to do both things in parallel. The other thing you can do, which is not really recommended, what people think when we get questions, so I'm in a way answering those questions at this moment, that can we work, do we go into assisting or hygiene or any other profession by the time we get into writing exams or working in dentistry? You have to really plan your time. Plan your time in a way, you have to understand that if you're going to study for any profession or any allied career and then also work in that profession for a year or two, that means 1 to 2 years of 1 year of study at least. Hygiene means even more. Hygiene means it could be 18 months to 3 years, depending on where you're getting schooled. But that much time of education plus the time you're going to be working in that profession. So it cannot be a 6-month or a 12-month plan. It will be definitely a longer plan. But at the same time, it's the same amount of time that you will need, an effort that you will need to invest in your mainstream profession in preparing for those exams. It will be the same amount of time you can get done with that part of things. So you really have to plan your time and path on that, whether you want to leverage from this temporary process or in some cases people say, you know what, I don't want to pursue this. I'm just going to move into this allied career for the long term. And they pursue that education and then pursue that career, and that is their career from that point onwards. That's a different story, but that is also a reality. People do that. And sometimes people get pushed into it if they fail to complete the clinical process. So that's the third version. So if you have had some education and experience on that allied career while you were pursuing your clinical practice career, and if for whatever reason you failed to complete, you are unable to complete that process, that's the allied career that you can go through. With clinical practice, you have two options. You can choose what they call as the equivalency process, or go through the schooling. You still have to start off the same way, and I'll show you the comparison. With exams, there's two paths. The equivalency process is for the general practitioners, and then there's the specialist path as well, which is very unlikely in the initial part of your career, because what happens is that even if you, the DISCI is the exam that they administer, and the specialist training is what follows after that. Even if you clear the exam, the training or the residency is something that people get stuck with. So most specialists also end up pursuing the equivalency process first, and then they can spend some time in the profession and then look towards whether if they still want to pursue the specialist path or not. When it comes to schooling, then you have the possibility of writing your EFK and getting into an IDAP program, that is International Dentist Advanced Placement Program. About 6 to 7 universities in Canada offer that program, or you could look towards pursuing masters. After masters, you could look towards pursuing PhD. Here is a brief idea of what you can end up doing if you go through this path. Equivalency will lead you to a general or a specialist practice, in the sense of limiting the scope of your practice, not in terms of being called a specialist or being a specialist. I mean restricted practice. You can do that as a general practitioner as well. If you're, for example, if you are an endodontist and you go through the equivalency process, you could choose to practice just endo, either as an associate or even as an owner, and you can have everyone else do the other procedures. So you're still practicing your subject, so just not being called a specialist. That's the difference. The DISCI and dental specialist training will obviously lead you to specialist practice. If you end up with completing an IDAP program, you will still be a general practitioner. If you go the MSc path, you can get into teaching. MSc, PhD opens your doors to other areas, and eventually there's a combination that you can get with specialization as well. So here's the important message to this slide, that leveraging from a temporary allied career, or whether or not you want to use that leverage, because you can go directly to the clinical practice path. You may choose to take leverage from a temporary allied career. You may also convert your allied career into a permanent career. That's the nutshell. In a nutshell, that's what I have to say with regards to allied careers. And the other segment is right in front of you, how the other side, the clinical side or the academic side, could unfold. Okay. Here's an expansion on the allied career side. Canada has a program called Second Career, and some of these programs might be able to fit in there. So what I've done is I've laid out those roles, and then what is the general education that is required, and what is generally the end job that you get, like a certified dental assistant 1 and 2. There are community career colleges that educate you there, and you can work as an assistant, registered dental hygienist, dental office admin. There are, again, community or career college courses. Please notice on the third level, I've mentioned job and I've said leverage for DDS. I'm just going to expand on it once I've gone through these. So most of these courses, most of these roles do require community or career colleges. There are a couple of assisting does have some shortcuts, but let's talk about the general situation first. So dental treatment coordinator. Now here is your two programs that don't necessarily require formal education. Dental office admin does have some courses available. There are college courses, there are online courses, but you can start off. You might be able to get your foot in the door in these two areas, dental treatment coordination, because they don't necessarily require that education. A little bit of experience that you can get from volunteering, and there are many learning resources that you can use to get the basic orientation, could be enough. Now moving forward, there's other programs. Now dental public health is a university program. There's clinical research programs in colleges, and obviously there's the sales and marketing, again, which does not necessarily require formal education. Now, a lot of these go, connecting back to the previous slide, if you are choosing to work in or get the education of these different areas as a temporary leverage, they might actually help you in your university admissions, or they might give you the leverage of you having a better understanding of the profession, better understanding of the way you need to communicate. So if you've gone through any of these programs, you do have an advantage over someone who hasn't, because you know a bit more about the profession. You're able to communicate at a better wavelength with the people in the profession, and that does play a role in helping you move forward. So this is the bird's eye view again. I'm giving you the snapshots of the areas that you can use to add or reduce weight on different aspects when you're making a decision. Okay. So in a nutshell, there are areas that you need to study to get to work, and there are some areas that you don't need to study and you can start working. That's the summary of this. And the third take-home point is that these temporary careers might offer a bit more leverage for those who are looking towards pursuing further education in dentistry. These experiences, this education can actually help you if you have the time and resources to invest in them. Pathways to practice, as I mentioned earlier, university graduation and equivalency process. If you are still not in Canada and you're in the process, this slide is very important to you. Effective time planning. So if you do this well, then you can bypass the allied career phase at times completely. What that means is that most people, what they do is, once they are clear about their travel status, they travel to Canada and then start their NDED profile, exam enrollment, study process, and writing the exam after traveling to Canada. Here's the important change. If you can do this before traveling to Canada and make the travel, push the travel or adjust the travel or make your plan such that you can get your NDED profile done before you travel, maybe even enroll in the exam, maybe even study, and then travel, and then write the AFK, you would have saved yourself significant amount of time. And what that does is at least two very important things. A, it changes your mindset completely to a very positive mindset, because if within landing in Canada within 6 months, 8 months, you've done away with your AFK, you're already looking forward to the next step. And you've already done the initial processes before you came to Canada. And the second thing is done is that it bypasses, most likely, bypasses the allied career option completely. And what you've done is you've very efficiently and effectively used your time and resources, living on the living cost that outside of Canada, which is fairly economical as compared to what you would be spending once you're here. So this sequence of events is very important in terms of planning. you can end up saving up to a year. And the price to practice, we get this a lot of times. I have a question. We'll take the question. The price to practice. Now let's compare the options. On the left, you will see the stages or track on the stages, and on the right, you have the tracks. So once you make the profile is the same for both tracks, for direct licensing through the equivalency process or advanced placement program. Now here's where the price starts to add up. So the first number that you see, the 1K, is the price. And these are rounded off figures. These are ballpark figures. Okay. So the price of the exam, price of education or training courses at CIDE. We've reduced the fee significantly, so it's not as high. Now with ACJ, you add another 3.5K, and then ACS. OSCE is the same for both tracks, and this is the total cost of this track, approximate. All costs are approximate, rounded off ballpark figures. And the duration, usually 1 to 2 years. The other track, for example, now for comparison, for the university path, for the advanced placement DDS or IDAP program, of course, the profile is the same. AFK is the same. Here's the difference. Now, I've slightly color-coded them, a light green and a light blue, if you can see the difference. The direct licensing path, at this point, you would be doing the ACJ, but for the university path, you would be going for a bench test preparation, which is significantly more expensive than pursuing the ACJ. With the skills side, definitely this is replaced by your 2 to 3 years in university. It's significantly higher. This number can go up to 300,000 as well, because now this year, starting this year, some universities are converting their program from a 2-year to a 3-year program. OSCE is the same, but now this process comes with a much heavier price tag and takes longer too. It will take you at least 1 to 2 years just to get into the university, and 2 years to get in, 1 to 2 years to get in, and then 2 to 3 years of your education will give you anything between 3 to 5 years till you're done. So these are some very important variables that we need to keep in mind. And when it comes to financial planning aspects, and my friend Dr. Raveda will expand on this as well, is the sources of this funding could be self-financing. If you can do that, I'd like to know you better. The second option is chartered banks. Only in 2019, just recently was the first time that chartered banks really started financing this process for foreign trained dentists, and they gave you a healthy amount of money that can really relax your circumstances and allow you to focus on your studies. The other option is FCR loans. FCR stands for Foreign Credential Recognition, and Dr. Raveda will be speaking on FCR loans. She's representing TCEP, which is the Center of Education and Training. They also provide you some financial assistance. And suppose initially you don't want to take up a big loan, you want to start off small, or you want to initially fund the process yourself for the first 2 steps, and then you want to get some help at the clinical skills stage. You can reach out to them and get that much needed help. But mentally speaking, please, the reason why I have broken down these prices or these costs for you, the reason is so that you can also break it down. When people just ask us for one figure, how much will this cost? And if I say $50,000, this is gonna drop their shoulders down. They're gonna start thinking, where will I get $50,000 from? Whereas they don't need to think like that. They don't need $50,000 on day one. Look at how this is broken down. So if you are making a 2-year plan, you don't need $50,000 on day one. Probably you need only $10,000 for this process in the first year to get you through the first 2 exams. And then you need a bigger amount of money, but then you don't necessarily need it together. Or even if you do need it together, now you can think, now the pieces are becoming smaller and smaller. The third step is the biggest and has the most important, has the largest impact. And then you can look at TCEP or other banks or other financing sources. So take it one step at a time. Break it down. Don't get overwhelmed. This is how it works. The 3 exams, again, because we've talked about this before, we're gonna just breeze through this. These are the passing rates, and these do not convert or translate into the probability of your success. Okay, so here's the important message for this slide. That if the EFK is a 50% pass rate, then what it means is that it doesn't mean that your chances of passing the exam are 50%, and this is just 50% pass rate for 1 attempt. You have 3 attempts. So if you do the math, most likely 90% of people eventually will get through this exam in one of their 3 attempts. Okay, so the reality is not as disappointing as it seems. CIDE offers didactic and clinical programs. We have online programs for the fundamental knowledge and judgment preparation, as well as the OSCE. And obviously the bench test and the clinical skills is a practical course. However, there might be online help available on that front as well. Now here's the other big question that many people are asking: online or in class? Any course, online or in class, are guides. They're very important guides, but they're just guides. Any good course, and all the course administrators agree on this, can contribute 30% at best. The rest of the 70% is your hard work. The primer for your success is your hard work. The coaching, the courses do an excellent job of providing some much needed guidance. But at the end of the day, there's successes and failures everywhere. So you need to commit to your hard work, and that's what we try to do. And if you can hear, understand, and follow us right now here, obviously you can do it on the course too. With that, I thank you for your attention. I will, Dr. Mota, should we take those questions right now or after Dr. Rueda's?
Sir, it's purely your call how you really want to go around it.
So let's hear from Dr. Rueda.
Yeah,
and,
let's hear Dr.
And
Rueda
move
first.
to these 3 questions that we have and see if we have any other questions on our Facebook Live.
All right, Dr. Rueda, are you here with us?
Yeah. Hi. How are you?
Hello, Dr. Rueda. I'm Dr.
Hey,
Matri.
hi.
A little intro because there's been delay from your side, but anyways, this is live session exclusive by Dental News Pakistan, and I'm Dr. Matir Hanif, assistant editor, and we are here to talk about dental career planning. And for all my listeners, Dr. Rueda is being associated with foreign trained professionals, and she's been a great sport in pursuing for those who want to pursue alternate careers or their original careers by providing financial support in the form of loans. So Dr. Rueda, welcome and hello.
Thank you so much. Am I going to be able to share my screen?
Yes, you can, of course.
I think I'll have to stop my share, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes, Dr. Rueda, please continue with sharing your screen. We're going fine.
Okay, perfect. Hold on, just let me.
Meanwhile, I'll ask all my participants and all my attendants that if they have any questions, kindly wait for them, and we'll definitely involve them and include them at the end of the session.
Yeah, so hi, thanks for inviting me and thanks for the introduction. There was a confusion about when are going to be start at 11 or 11:30. That's why I was a bit confused. However, I'm here now. Thanks for those who are listening and attending this webinar. Um, my name again, Ruwaida. You can call me Ruwaida, no need for doctor. That's first lesson I learned here in Canada. I'm a career training counselor at Center for Education and Training. Today I'm going to introduce you the Foreign Credential Recognition Loans Program, which can you see is provided or funded, sorry, by the Government of Canada's Foreign Credential Recognition Program, facilitated by Center for Education and Training in partnership with Meridian. I'm gonna go in a very quick way, let you know who's eligible or who's not eligible to join the program, who's the criteria for our clients, objectives of this program description. We'll talk about the loan features and the one-on-one career counseling features, also how to register and share my contact information. This program is created actually or established by the Canadian PAN framework. I'm not sure if you have ever heard about this framework. It's basically created to give you as an international trained professional the same opportunity that Canadian trained professional has in terms of finding jobs and relaunching your career. So an internationally trained dentist should have the same opportunity as an a Canadian dentist graduate, professional. However, this program is not only for dentists, it's also for doctors, for lawyers, for those with a bachelor degree in business, accounting. So even if your background or your degree is, you're not coming from a regulated occupation, you are still eligible to join this program. Just to let you know about the program, generic information, and then you can share it with your friends, your partners, who is gonna anyone who may be interested to register for this program, even tradesperson. So even if someone with high school diploma or even with grade 10, 11, that's it, no more, not completed the high school diploma, they are still eligible to join this program because trades in Canada is a regulated occupation and they will need financial and career help, job search support, and that's what I'm usually providing my clients. So it's for international trained professionals, including tradespersons, both regulated and non-regulated occupations. The objectives and details, like they have, we have 4 objectives here, starting with facilitating the integration of international trade individuals into the Canadian labor market. So we help you basically to get familiar with the Canadian workplace culture. In case you haven't started yet, or even because I noticed one of the questions, I want to start a job in an academy as an academic teacher or in an academic position, academic environment. So we can help you with this as well. You maybe are not familiar with the academic or universities, colleges environment, workplace culture. We help you with this, and we help you with the one-on-one career counseling sessions that I'm gonna discuss in this presentation as well. The second objective is to support the process related to foreign credential assessment and recognition. So we have 2 processes here in Canada in terms of recognizing your credentials. You may go through the credential evaluation, and you may have already done that if you're like just recently migrated to Canada or a fresh newcomer, because basically they may ask you to evaluate your credentials, do the WES evaluation, for example. This is a credential evaluation, which is different than credential recognition, and that's the main or the core main interest or the objective of the program. So we help you through the process, either to prepare you. You don't apply for us to help you recognize your credentials, or we don't really connect you with the NDEB, for example, with the authority regulatory bodies. We do help you through the process If you haven't started your application yet, we can help you to fill in the forms. We can help you basically with the fees, paying the fees. We start from the very beginning of the process. We don't ask you to enroll to the like any recognition process in order to help support you financially. So we know you may be in need to apply, submit your application, and membership fees, according or along with writing your exams. So we help you through this process. We facilitate, as I said, the loans to eligible clients, and we monitor the repayments. We also provide you with one-on-one career counseling sessions. I have to be very clear here. Those who are eligible for the program, they may choose either go and apply only for the loan and keep the counseling sessions after passing the exams, getting licensed, and become a licensed dentist, for example. Or they may choose to go only for the career counseling sessions, start applying for entry-level jobs or healthcare alternative career, just like what Dr. Abbas shared earlier. So we can help you with this separately without applying for the loan. And whenever you need the loan as a registered client, you don't need to register again. Also, you may apply for the both features, both services, the career counseling sessions along with the loan. The eligibility criteria, basically permanent resident, Canadian citizen, or conventional refugee. Only refugee claimants are not eligible for this program because they are not officially a PR or gonna be in the process to be a PR holders. So with money, that's why we cannot accept or approve and register refugee claimants, or even students, or those in Canada in a student's visa, work permit only, those only the criteria that are not eligible for this program. You have your degree, you have a related work experience, or even you don't have a degree, you have a high school diploma, as I said, and you want to have to be a tradesperson in Canada. Seeking to have credential recognized, or seeking to go for an alternative career. So both. If you want to do both, apply, write the exams, study, and then in the meantime you want to find a job to support your living expenses, then you can attend, definitely register this program. You only want to find an alternative career, feel free to register for this program as well. Now, the catchment area used to be resident of Peel Region, Toronto, Halton Region, or Hamilton. However, recently, because of COVID-19 situation, we are running all of our services all online, remote delivery mode. So it's more flexible, way flexible. We don't request you to come and meet with me in any of our locations, CIDE, Center for Education Training location, Mississauga, Toronto, Halton, North York, Scarborough, even Hamilton. We have our locations there. So now everything can be done remotely. I have 2 clients just recently applied and got approved, one from Windsor and one from London, Ontario. Before that, this is a catchment area. If you are, or even after hopefully the pandemic situation is over, we are still eligible if you don't live in this catchment area, but I would request you to come in person and register. Now, as I said, 2 features, the loan features and the career counseling sessions. The loan is about or from 1,500 up to 15,000. I know maybe 15,000 is not enough for you, and it's very easy to refer you to our partners. So the government they know already that 15,000 is not enough for you. That's why they have been, founded or created more than one program similar to our programs. However, our program is, I can say, it's more flexible and easier because you have in-person touch. You meet with me. You have these career counseling sessions for free, and we can help you to fill in the loan forms. It's not only online and then a very long process maybe. And it's the only program that can, as I said, money along with career counseling. Now, I have to say, even if you have OSAP or you have applied, let's say, for windmill or you have any other loans, you are still eligible to apply for our program and apply for the loan. However, everything depends on your financial situation. It's funded by the government of Canada. It's you don't need a cosign, like you can apply with no cosign, or someone who can sponsor you, cosign with you your application with you. And if you don't have an income, your spouse income, your savings that can be like you have maybe receiving transferring from outside of Canada, child benefit, Ontario Works, disability, all these of financial resources would be considered. Even like recently temporary laid off and you're under EI or like, you know, supported by the Canada emergency plan, you are still eligible to apply. Okay, I have a dentist. Dr. Abbas joined me in a healthcare alternative event just I think 2 weeks ago, and I have 2 dentists actually applied for the loan because they don't want to go for a big amount of loan, just keep this in their shoulders and then, you know, get worried about are they going to be able to pay back or not. They want to manage their financial commitment and responsibilities, living expenses in general, and they know it's funded by the government, so it's going to be more flexible. And it's non-for-profit organization, so more like trustworthy. Now, no credit history required. I think as an immigrant, newcomer, or even if you have got your Canadian citizen already, you have heard this terminology or like no credit history required. What does that exactly mean? It means if you have just landed recently, less than 1 year, so we know you have not get the chance to build your credit. That's why credit score. That's why no credit history is required. But if you have already have been in Canada for a while and there is a credit score or credit card history, they will definitely check your credit bureau. However, as I said, because it's supported by the government, then if your score is not good enough and you have a reason why, you can explain what happened and it's a good explanation, we take that as well. Okay, so that's the benefit of having a career counselor, that I can guide you through the process. The competitive interest rate, and I haven't changed this especially for this webinar, the interest rate you can see in the presentation, it's 5.9. It's the old interest rate, which is less than OSAP interest rate. Recently, it has been getting down, and it's the prime plus 2%, which is 2.45 plus 2%. The prime, we cannot control it. The 2% is fixed, but the prime is depend on Canada bank prime. Right now, because the prime is, it used to be 3.95, almost 4. Now the prime, I think it's the best time to apply for loans or mortgage right now because it's the lowest. It's 2.45. So the total one, it's 4.45 instead of 5.95. The repayment method terms, it's 4 years to pay back. It's a loan, it's not a grant. You can schedule the repayment methods up to 4 years. No hidden fees, even for our services or career counseling sessions. Options to save interest. If you want to pay back during 1 year, then this will save you definitely more money. By the way, and I have to be clear, because I work for a non-for-profit organization. I care about what works best for you. So the repayment starts 30 days after depositing the money. Okay? Just keep this in mind, please. Now, what expenses can the loan cover? Qualification assessment fee, association and examination fees, book course materials, short-term training, travel expenses, living expenses, everything. Even as I said, you want to attend a dental hygiene program. You want to write the exams to be a certified dental assessment, not attend a program again. It's only an exam. You want to attend CIDE. It's like a preparation school for your exams. You want to buy a laptop. You want to attend an online course that is not covered by OSAB or any other organizations, not as a dentist or but as I said, is an alternative career. So all these options are covered. As long as you have a learning plan, a learning goal, then we can cover what is related to this or the other living expenses. However, it's not going to like exceed 15,000. So we do cover mortgage and rent. The dentist, I have just like one of the clients who's a dentist, by the way, he asked to cover 2 months rent because he already applied for WNML and he already passed the 2 first exams. So he needed more and to cover the third exam along with 2 months rent. This is absolutely fine, and you can apply through our program. Through our program. Now, the one-on-one career counseling sessions, in a very quick way, it's 10 topics to cover. You are eligible at least for 4. It's about your resume writing, cover letter writing. If you have done it already, we don't duplicate it. We go for fill in the gaps. What are you missing so far? Like information on interviews, LinkedIn profile, labor market trends, Canadian workplace culture. We help you to develop a career action plan and develop a learning plan. We help you with the credential evaluation support if you have not done it yet, and finding a related job in your target if you are interested. I know some of you would like to focus on studying. It's totally up to you. But if you are looking to find a part-time job or an entry-level job, we can help you with that as well. However, I'm not a job developer. So I'm not gonna, we have job developers. If you contact me, register, I can connect you also with our job colleagues, job developers. So can connect you with Tim Horton, connect you with Canadian Tire. We don't connect you with employers. We prepare you as well, make you job ready. The program contact a program staff. You may contact me. It's used to be intake assessment. It can be both now. It's online, more online because of the COVID-19, and even after that, it's going to be both online and in person. If you're eligible, then you can choose the counseling sessions and the loan, both or either one. If not, then you can, or you are not suitable for the loan because many reasons may make you maybe not eligible or suitable for the loan, you can just go for the career counseling sessions. Even if you're approved for the loan or not, whatever the situation is, once you are registered with us, officially a client, we will follow up with you. If you don't contact me, I will still follow up with you every 3 or 6 months. Here is my contact information. Sorry. Please feel free to take a picture. And Dr. Abbas has my contact information as well. So feel free to take a picture. I can share it with you as well through Dr. Abbas or through this webinar. And thanks for listening. Feel free to ask if you have any questions. Dr. Abbas, it's all yours now.
Thank you. Thank you
Welcome.
so much, Dr. Roveda.
I will go for stop sharing.
Yes, Dr. Abbas, we have a couple of questions both from our webinar audience.
So what we're going to do is first answer the Zoom questions, then let's move to the Facebook questions, okay?
Right.
Roveda, can you hear us?
Yes, she can hear us.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can. I muted my mic. Yes,
so
I can. Definitely.
Because it's a short question, I'll start with that. Someone lives in Alberta. Are they eligible for this program?
If they want to come and register with CIDE, yes, because this is for Ontario actually. So you can see I have like loans emails. So being a resident in Alberta only is not enough. I have a couple of clients who reside in Ontario, moved to Ontario just to attend the preparation schools, and I know it's not the same options there in Alberta. You don't have this flexibility or this variety of schools. So if you move to Ontario to attend any of the preparation schools, CIDE for example, then you can, yes, you're eligible. If you are not willing to move, then contact me. We have career loans, virtual loans that can be provided to those who are only in Alberta.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sangha Mitra has a question. Most are from me, and what would be the installment? What would be an average monthly installment for the full amount of $15,000, Roeda?
It depends on how many years, the amortization period. If you are going for 4 years, then
I would suggest people asking specific questions to contact Roeda and get that specific information directly from her.
Yeah, but I can just give a quick example. It's $340 for the full amount if it's 4 years. The total amount after 4 years is gonna be $1,650. So the interest rate is like it's around $1,500, the interest amount, and whenever you have the full money, you can pay it back with no charge. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So Sangha Mitra is asking, will it cover the course fee? Yes, so I think that got answered, but I do want to add, Sangha Mitra, for AFK, the CIDE course is pretty affordable. It's only $1,500. So it's not a $3,000 or $4,000 program. So you can use the remaining money for other courses. So these are, in these times when most of the courses are being conducted online, you can actually, in that amount of money, you can take both AFK and ACJ preparation at CIDE. So to answer your question, Sangalpra, now I'm going details for MSc in clinical research options. Which universities has been a question from anonymous attendee. Well, MSc and clinical research options, we covered that aspect in a lot of detail with the session with Dr. Zishan Sheikh. So I suggest that you write to us. We will send you a link. In fact, we will send a link to all the registrants of this process of this session today. We will send a link to our online database of all webinars. All recordings are posted there, and you can pick and choose, and you will get that information specific to your question, because there was a separate webinar dedicated to that question. So anonymous attendee, the MSc and that. Well, there are only 6 or 7 universities. There's not a lot to it, but you'll get your answers to your questions in that webinar, and we can send it to you. DA is asking, is the loan for Ontario residents only or other provinces too? I think Roeda answered that. You mentioned dentistry as possessing. This is W. Ali asking, you mentioned dentistry as possessing a business aspect too, along with academics and clinicals. Please elaborate as per career flowchart you showed. I showed quite a few career flowcharts. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but what I can say is that for that business side, you can choose to get either any online business basics course, online course, or you can choose an executive MBA or any short other business program in a college or a university, or a short online program to give you those basics. I don't know where you're located, but in Canada, there are regional offices that help you get that information education at no cost, free of charge. So there are many resources on basic business education. And if you go the formal path, you can go for an executive MBA or a formal course, and then you can even use it to in a different career if you want to. Could foreign trained dentists enter medicine careers MD in Canada? Again, an anonymous attendee question. That's beyond the scope of this webinar, I have to say, because we rarely get these questions. And, you know, medicine careers have their own set of requirements. As long as you are meeting those sets of requirements, you can get into it. It has nothing to do with your dental degree. You do not get any advanced placement or any advantage of your dentistry degree if you're wanting to pursue medicine, that as far as I know in North America. Can permanent resident of Canada opt for traditional 4 years of DDS? That is also a creative question. Many times people try to come up with. I don't see a need to do that in the current situation with so many options, and that is not a path that this system is designed to do. Again, there's a different set of requirements. The parameters are completely different. So if you meet those parameters, maybe yes, but I don't think so. It's worth it. Sangamitra is working as an assistant and been in the same office since 2 years. It's been a roller coaster ride for sure, but now she knows more about the profession. It's very exhausting work schedule, really. See, this is the reason why I'm trying to advise against going the path of a temporary allied career, because it becomes exhaustive. It's not worth the time, money, and effort. You can use the same time, money, and effort and invest it towards your licensing exams, and that's a better investment. That's in a nutshell what I'm going to say. But if she wants to be a dentist in the academic profile, it has a BDS and an MPH, I would suggest you go for a master's as the first step, and then decide your way forward from there. Zenith, thanks for the information. I would like to have some insight on MSc program for foreign trained dentists. You can share some links. Yes, again, as I said earlier, there was a separate webinar dedicated to this. We'll send you the link to that webinar, and then do your research for specific universities. Every university has a different set of programs and different requirements. That is beyond the scope of today's discussion. And let's move on to some of the Facebook questions that have been sent. Always Kashmiri. I think I know Always Kashmiri. Thanks for the information. My question is, what is the level of saturation in dentistry in Canada? I have heard from people it's quite saturated. How good a living can you make out of it? Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, that yes, it is getting increasingly saturated, but you can still make a decent living. I said the starting salary could be 100 to 130. That's the range. That's decent to start with. As I said, dentistry is more of a business. You determine how much you make out of dentistry. It's in your hands. It's not in, the employer can even only do so much, give you a job and give you a percentage. But at the end of the day, what you make out of it as a career is in your hands. Always. So Vishal Moda is asking, if I'm in Canada for more than 1 year, am I still eligible for FCR loan? Is Raveda still there?
Yes, I am, and of course, if he's in Canada, then he's eligible.
But what about the status? If they're in Canada, on what status?
In PR, refugee, convention refugee, Canadian citizen.
Okay, so you heard those categories of your status. If you're here for more than a year as a student, I don't think so that qualifies. What about work permits?
No.
No. Okay. So work permits and students don't qualify. Citizenship, PR, refugees, they qualify. Yasin Khan, hello, I am a homeopathic doctor from India. Well, you have to meet the dental admission criteria, Yasin. And that's all I can say to that question. Dr. Mothar, are there any more questions?
We have this new question. Do we have time? Can we include it? Mashil Zubair Khan is asking, I think this has been answered, but all right, we can do it again. From where to prepare for the exams and how many parts is the exam divided in? So just a quick refresh.
I think it was answered in the presentation. You can go to the CIDE website, CIDE online, CIDE online.
Yeah.
Get your answers there, or you can contact us directly, and you can have those problems sorted out at CIDE online, CIDEonline.ca. And you can email us or go to our Facebook page, post a question and all the breakdown. And finally, for anyone who's listening to this conversation who joined late, I think the recording will be made available, Mohtar.
Yes. We have done all the questions? Is it all we have?
I think we're done.
Yes, for all our participants, I'll like to want to share you guys that the recorded presentation will be definitely present on Dental News YouTube page. You guys can check it out and can review all
and CIDE's social media as well.
Yes, CIDE as well, which is Canadian Integration Dental Education. And with that, we have actually reached the very end of our session. And I'm so much thankful to both Dr. Abbas and Dr. Veda for taking time out of your busy schedule and guiding us through your knowledge. It's always been a pleasure to have you on board, Dr. Abbas. You know that.
Thank you, Mohtar. It's always a pleasure. You know that too. And we'll stay in touch with all our participants. We'll see more information on what other resources you can access. And it's been great to have you. We hope this was.
Yes, and with that, thank you so much, and Allah Hafiz.